Hi, everybody. Welcome again to IV English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Well, the Lunar New Year is, we're in the midst of it, if you consider a 2-week period of time to be the traditional length of a new year.
I love it. I love it.
I love the weather. It's cool.
Yeah, and you can just hang out with people and live your life.
Yeah, well, today we'll be talking about nothing having to do with Lunar New Year, but reducing single-use plastics with the TOMbag.
好，那我们的中文标题是减塑新帮手，好，那个塑就是塑胶的塑，好，所以减塑新帮手 TOMbag， 然后冒号可清洗环保垃圾袋，所以可以清洗的环保垃圾袋。
If you've never heard of a TOMbag, don't feel strange. I didn't know about it either until I read this article, but I think it's something you'll enjoy hearing about and maybe doing something about. I'll read through the whole article first, of course, and then we'll go back to explain each and every sentence. People are doing their part these days to cut down on single-use plastics since they pollute the environment. Conscious shoppers take their own bags and use them to carry their purchases. Also, some countries around the world are banning single-use plastics. But one plastic item that people use and throw out every day is still around, the single-use garbage bag. In order to address this issue, environmentally friendly alternatives, including biodegradable and compostable bags, have been developed in recent years. However, in order for them to break down, both bags require a high-pressure and high-heat environment that landfills lack. Further, compostable bags in landfills release methane, another greenhouse gas that is much stronger than CO2. Recently, some environmentalists have proposed a new way to reduce plastic waste harming the environment, the TOMbag. Two parents, Sasha and Jonathan Pestano, wanted to make sure they did all they could to help their daughter grow up in an environmentally conscious home. The couple created TOMbag, a reusable bag made from recycled plastic that is an alternative to single-use garbage bags. TOMbag is sturdy and washable so that a household can completely eliminate its use of disposable garbage bags. For about 1,000 NT dollars and 1,500 NT dollars, depending on the size, people can buy a single bag for storing and transporting garbage. While this is a pretty high cost, people can use TOMbags for years, so the initial investment is reasonable. What's more, when the bag reaches the end of its life, it can be returned to the company and be recycled. Customers will feel good knowing they are not adding to the plastic problem at all.
Okay, so people are doing their part these days to cut down on single-use plastics since they pollute the environment. So it's the plastics that pollute the environment, by the way. When you're looking at phrases or clauses in a sentence, you generally look at the noun that's closest to them to know what they're talking about. So since they pollute the environment is next to single-use plastics, and so that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about they, people. So you have to be careful when you put your clauses in a sentence to make sure it's closest to the thing you're talking about to avoid creating confusion.
好，所以呢，这个句子告诉我们 ，people are doing their part。好，人们都尽了本分，都做他们该做的事情。These days， 啊，这年头，大家都尽他们该做的事，啊，都做了该做的事情，来 cut down on， 就是减少，减少什么呢 ？Single use 就是使用一次性的这种 plastics 塑胶。好 ，since 为什么呢 ？They 那指的是最靠近它的那个名词，所以这个 they 指的是这种使用一次性的这种塑胶。他们会 pollute the environment， 他们会这个污染环境。
Conscious shoppers take their own bags and use them to carry their purchases. Conscious means you are aware of something, you're awake. Shoppers who are awake or conscious take their own bags and use them to carry their purchases. So they don't expect to get a new bag every time they buy one thing. They start off with a cloth or plastic bag that they can put their purchases into, reducing, if not eliminating, the amount of plastic that is used while shopping.
好，所以 conscious shoppers, conscious 在这里就指有意识的，他关注什么的，在这里其实指的是 environmentally conscious，就他们对于这个环保有意识的这些 shoppers， 他们 take their own bags， 他们会带自己的袋子 and use them， 使用自己带去的这些袋子，目的是 carry their purchases， 来携带他们所买的东西。 purchases 在这里就是指他们所买的东西。
Also, some countries around the world are banning single-use plastics. Yay, good for them. If you ban something, you don't permit it at all.
好，此外呢 some countries around the world， 全世界有一些国家，世界上有一些国家are banning， 就是他们在禁止single-use plastics， 使用一次性的这种塑胶，或者只能用一次的这种塑胶那 ban 就是禁止的意思。
I always feel that plastic is too valuable to waste on single-use anything.
Yeah. 这个塑胶其实是很珍贵的你看它这个又轻又坚固所以任何塑胶用一次都是很浪费的。
But one plastic item that people use and throw out every day is still around. It's not banned. It is the single-use garbage bag. When we go to the night market or stores, it seems everything that you buy is put into its own bag, and when you get home, you've got a dozen bags if you've done a weekly shopping.
But they're talking about the single-use garbage bag, which is a bag that you specifically buy to line your garbage pail with and use it to collect and throw out garbage. It's not even getting the extra use of carrying your things home from the night market for.
Oh, I see.
好，所以呢，这个他说有一种 plastic item， 有一种塑胶的品项，好 that people use and throw out every day， 这个塑胶品项呢是人们每天用而且每天丢的is still around， 仍然没有被禁止is still around， 好，还用得到还看得到，就是什么呢？就是 the single-use garbage bag， 就是使用一次的垃圾袋。
Yeah, let me stress one thing here. Single use, remember, as a verb, use, but as a noun, use.
好，注意 single
The
use.
difference being a Z sound for the verb and an S sound for the noun.
And it works for all the use verbs. Abuse. There are others I can't think of
on the spot.
But anytime you have a verb ending in USE, its noun will have the S sound, not the Z sound.
好，所以 single use 应该是因为它这里是单的名词，好，所以应该是用 S 的声音 single use 这个 garbage bag。
In order to address this issue, if you address something, you're not writing down the address on something. You're facing it or dealing with it or beginning to talk about it. And an issue is a matter,
Problem.
a problem. So in order to address this issue, environmentally friendly alternatives. So if it's friendly to the environment, that's the sort of the euphemism for saying that it's not going to hurt the environment. An alternative is something that it's a choice that's different from the mainstream choice. So here's another choice you can have. So these environmentally friendly alternatives include biodegradable and compostable bags. A biodegradable bag is like made of half plastic and half something that'll break down, which when they first came out in the 90s, I was like, because what you're doing is just letting a whole bunch of microplastic into the environment, which is not good either. I've never liked the idea of the biodegradable bag. The compostable bags are a much better idea. It means that you can throw them into the compost, into the kitchen scraps, and they will just turn into another kitchen scrap, and they can recycle naturally in the nature's recycling, turning back into soil or nutrients for the soil. And so both of these ideas have been developed in recent years, recent meaning the last 30.
好，所以呢，为了要 address this issue， 为了要处理或者为了解决这一个 issue， 在这里可以解释成为问题。好，那 address 在这里不是地址，它是处理或者面对解决的意思。好，为了要解决这个问题呢，这个 environmentally friendly 就是对环境是友善的，也就是环保的 alternatives 就是替代方案。好，包括什么替代方案呢？包括biodegradable 就是它可以生物分解的还有呢 compostable 就是可以制为这个可以制成堆肥的compostable 这种 bags 就是所谓的替代方案。那这些替代方案呢 have been developed 已经被发展出来了 in recent years 最近几年来。
However, in order for them to break down, both bags, biodegradable and compostable, require a high pressure and high heat environment that landfills lack. A landfill is colloquially what we call a dump, D-U-M-P. It's away from the city, and it ends up being a mountain of garbage. That's called a landfill. But the landfill, it doesn't have the right environment, if you will, to take care of plastic bags that are wasted because landfills don't have high pressure and high heat that would normally increase the speed at which things break down.
好，所以呢，但是他说 in order for somebody to do something 就是为了要让他们能够那在这里就为了让这些袋子能够 break down 让它能够分解。好 both bags 就是指前面这两种袋子这个 biodegradable 跟这个 compostable 的袋子呢都需要 a high pressure 要有一个高压的而且是 high heat 高温的 environment 环境，而这个环境呢是 that landfills lack。 好，这个 landfills 就是废弃物掩埋场lack 就是缺乏，所以废弃物掩埋场呢都缺乏这种高压高温的环境。
Further, so another problem is that compostable bags in landfills release methane. They don't release more methane than other things in landfills, but they are part of the things that release methane in landfills. And methane is bad because it is a greenhouse gas, meaning it's a gas that increases the total net heat in our atmosphere. It traps rather than releases the sun's heat. So it's called a greenhouse gas. And it is much stronger than CO2. Like CO2, carbon dioxide, is the main greenhouse gas in our environment. It's one reason we're alive on this planet today, because it traps some of the heat from the sun. The problem is that now we have too much of it and it traps too much of the heat. And so the methane joining the carbon dioxide traps even more heat. And so that's a problem.
好 further 此外这个可以制成堆肥的这种袋子呢 in landfills 它会 release 它会释放Methane 就是甲烷那同位格告诉你这是另外一种这个温室气体 greenhouse gas that is much stronger 而且它比什么更强呢？比二氧化碳还要强。
If you hear someone say methane, that's British English pronunciation. England may say methane. Recently, some environmentalists have proposed a new way to reduce plastic waste harming the environment. The TOMbag. In the recent few years, some environmentalists, some people who are very concerned about the cleaning up of our environment, have suggested a new way to reduce plastic waste, which does harm the environment, and they call it the TOMbag.
好，所以最近呢，有一些环保人士some environmentalists have proposed 他们提出了一个 a new way 一个新的方法来 reduce 来减少 plastic waste 这个减少塑胶的这个废弃物。好，那这些废弃物是会伤害环境的 harming the environment。 好，那是什么呢？就是告诉你他们找出来的解决办法就是 the TOMbag。
Basically, the argument is this. What is better than putting plastic bags into landfill? Putting no bags into landfill. And that's what they're trying to do. So, two parents named Sasha and Jonathan Pestano, they wanted to make sure they did all they could. If you do all you can, it means you've done everything possible. You've tried everything to help their daughter grow up in an environmentally conscious home. They wanted their daughter to understand that the environment was something you take care of.
好，所以 two parents 有2位为人父母者，就是 Sasha 跟这个 Jonathan Pestano， 他们 wanted to make sure， 他们想要确保they did all they could， 他们尽了所有的能力，该做的都做到了，来帮助 help their daughter， 帮助他们的女儿 grow up， 长大成长，在一个 environmentally conscious， 在一个有环保意识的家里面长大。
The couple created TOMbag, a reusable bag made from recycled plastic that is an alternative to single-use garbage bags. So the Pestanos, Mr. and Mrs., created TOMbag. What is it? It's a reusable bag. It's not a single-use item. And it's made from recycled plastic, so it's doing two good things. It's using old plastic that would otherwise become a kind of pollution and making it useful again. And that's a choice that we have instead of using single-use garbage bags that we use just once and then throw away.
好，所以 the couple created 他们创造了 TOMbag， 那是一种 reusable bag 是一种这个可以重复使用的袋子a reusable bag made from 是由什么做成的呢？ recycled plastic 是由回收的塑胶做出来的。那 that is 那这种 bag 这个 that 指的是这个 reusable bag， 这个袋子呢是个 alternative， 它是个替代to single-use garbage bags， 对于它是替代那种可以用来替代单次使用的这种垃圾袋。
TOMbag is sturdy and washable, so these are adjectives. If something is sturdy, that's the opposite of fragile. We talked about fragile a couple days ago in our flowers article. And so sturdy means it's strong and not easily breakable. And it's washable. You can wash it because that's very important in a garbage bag because garbage is stinky. So that a household can completely eliminate its use of disposable garbage bags. You can completely get rid of any need for single-use disposable garbage bags.
好，所以 TOMbag is sturdy， 就是很结实、很坚固它相反词就是 fragile， F-R-A-G-I-L-E， 而且它是 washable， 可以清洗的。好，所以呢 a household 就是一个家庭呢，可以 completely 完完全全的 eliminate 消除或者根除 its use of disposable garbage bags， 可以完全清除消除他们使用可抛弃式的 disposable 这种 garbage bags， 所以以后都不用再用可抛弃式的垃圾袋了。
For about 1,000 NT dollars and 1,500 NT dollars, depending on the size, of course the smaller one is the $1,000 one, people can buy a single bag for storing and transporting garbage. So it sounds a bit expensive, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And there are two different sizes of TOMbag that you can buy. You just need one bag for storing, for keeping, and then moving out, throwing out garbage.
好，所以呢 for about 你大概只要花的1000块钱或1500块钱台币。好 ，depending on the size， 就是看你买的袋子是多大那 TOMbag 是多大。好，你就花这样的钱，你就可以人们可以 buy a single bag， 买一个袋子 for storing， 这个单一的袋子可以储存，也可以 transporting， 也可以运送垃圾。
Well, this is a pretty high cost. You don't normally think about spending, $1,500, which is really a lot of meals out, or, that's a lot. Especially if your rent is like $17,000 a month, $1,500 is a significant piece of that, right? So while this is a pretty high cost, people can use TOMbags for years. So it's like an investment over time. So the initial investment is reasonable. It's reasonable to spend this much money because you can use it a long time. That's the argument.
好，所以 while 就是虽然这是 pretty high cost， 这成本还蛮高的pretty high。但是人们可以使用这个 TOMbags for years， 你可以用好几年，而且呢 the initial 这样子，因为可以用好几年，所以这个开始的这个投资 the initial investment is reasonable 那就感觉起来还算蛮合理的。
What's more, When the bag reaches the end of its life, it can be returned to the company and be recycled. So, what's more, even more, here's another good reason to buy these bags. When the bag reaches the end of its life, they will eventually wear out or become torn or have some problem. And so you're thinking about replacing it. The not so useful anymore TOMbag can be returned to the company, and they will recycle it for you. So you don't have to worry about it becoming still another piece of pollution in the landfill.
好，所以 what's more 更有甚者啊，这更进一步的说，当这个袋子 reaches the end of its life， 当它到达了它的寿命的这个年限的时候，到它寿命的终点的时候 reaches the end of its life， it can be returned to the company， 它可以被归还给这家公司，然后呢 be recycled， 可以再循环利用一次，再回收使用一次啊，或者再回收使用，那这样子就不会造成环保问题。
Customers will feel good knowing they are not adding to the plastic problem at all. So you're not helping reduce it, but at least you're not adding to the problem, which is sometimes just as important.
Yeah. 好，所以 customers 就是这个顾客呢 will feel good， 他们会感觉蛮好的啊。Knowing 啊，就当他们知道这件事情的时候，他们会觉得不错，就是 will feel good knowing that。好，知道什么事情呢？知道 they are not adding to the plastic problem at all。好 ，not at all 这根本没有，所以当他们知道他们完全没有好这个添加到这个垃圾问题上面啊，制造更多这个塑胶问题的时候呢，他们就会觉得很好。
We have a few review questions for you now, the first of which is, what problem does the first paragraph point out?
第一段点出了什么问题呢？
The answer is A. The use of single-use garbage bags is often ignored.
好，一次性垃圾袋的使用时常遭到忽视，这是正确答案。
And number 2, why aren't compostable bags good alternatives to single-use garbage bags?
为何可堆肥袋不是一次性垃圾袋的理想替代品呢？
Just like garbage itself, they also contribute to the greenhouse effect. Answer is D.
答案是 D， 可堆肥袋也会助长温室效应。
And the third question, which of the following statements is not true about TOMbags?
关于 TOMbags 下列叙述何者为非？
The answer is B. They are slightly cheaper than traditional garbage bags.
答案是 B， 这种袋子比传统垃圾袋便宜一点。那事实上它们是比较贵的，所以这个 statement 这个叙述是错的，所以它是正确答案。
Okay, that's it for today's lesson. Hope you learned and enjoyed with us. Until the next time.
Bye-bye.